are these people?
Jonathan Cook, this is a long one, so I'm just going to show you the headline, and I'm going to graze over it quickly, because, again, this is very long. This is another one. Trump is turning Gaza into a brutal colonial protection racket. Going back to Eleanor's article about the Gaza peace plan that was signed off on by the UN unanimously with the abstentions of China and Russia. Cook says, and Cook, by the way, is an Indie Media Award honoree from First Class 2022. Trump is turning Gaza into a brutal colonial protection racket. Trump's peace plan will never be meaningfully realized and was never intended to be. It's simply a way of prolonging Gaza's living hell. All right. And he talks about how, the president will be able to dictate the fate of Gaza's people with a simple gesture. Whatever he decides, whether the thumb up turns up or down, it will be called peace, like a Roman emperor. Reminds me of the scene in Gladiator with Joaquin Phoenix with the thumbs up. I think it's thumbs up. Trump's most likely sidekick in this depraved charade will be Tony Blair, the former British Prime Minister. Now, remember, Jonathan is British, so he's coming from a British perspective. Tony won his war crime spurs more than 20 years ago when he joined one of Trump's predecessors, George W. Bush, in launching an illegal invasion of Iraq and a subsequent catastrophic occupation that left that country in ruins too. Satire cannot do justice to this movement. All right. They're talking about how this is a joint U.S.-Israeli occupation, and part of it is in disarming Hamas. Last year, the ICJ ruled that Israel must end its occupation and pull out of all Palestinian territories as rapidly as possible, including Gaza. We can see that they have done the exact opposite and have taken more than 50% of the country, making the territory, making it a yellow zone that any Palestinian that enters will be shot on sight. In supporting UN Resolution 2308, both have, entirely predictably, reneged on that promise. Although at the insistence of Arab states, the resolution makes a vague nod to a possible pathway to statehood. The Board of Peace, that is the U.S. and Israel, gets to decide when or if that actually happens. The worst part is that a precondition is that Mahmoud Abbas's supine Palestinian Authority submits to an undefined reform program. What has that got to do with Gaza? The Palestinian Authority already serves as Israel's reliable security subcontractor in the occupied West Bank, having turned itself into a modern-day Vichy regime. And again, there's a lot more there, talking about the ties to criminal gangs and how Israel has been supporting the criminal gangs in order to loot the aid, and then claim that it is Palestinians that are doing it, not Israeli-supported Palestinians, but Palestinians doing it to themselves so that then they can justify blocking more aid. Okay? Then you again have the behind-the-curtain section, all right, where hand-picked members of the media were given a peek behind the curtain to see who'll be running Gaza. We knew that 18 months ago. We covered the Gaza 2035 plan, that it was going to be a coalition. All right. But now we have actual names. All right. New Civil Military Coordination Center is filled with Israeli, U.S., and European military officials, Arab intelligence agents, diplomats, and aid workers. There was, the paper noted, no one representing Palestinian interests, because there never is. The same building was used earlier to house the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Reminder, the U.S. and Israeli-backed mercenary group that pretended to be an aid agency until it was wound up last month when they first announced a ceasefire. But that agency had whistleblowers that were saying that they were murdering Palestinians as well, and working alongside the IDF to murder innocent children that were scrambling for aid. But again, we have a name. The new center is led by Arya Lightstone. who served in Trump's first term under the then U.S. ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, an outspoken pro-Israel zealot whose main mission was to get the U.S. embassy moved, in violation of international law, to the Israeli-occupied city of Jerusalem. They did that. Lightstone is likely to emerge as the new Paul Bremer, a hugely unqualified U.S.-appointed governor of Iraq following the illegal 2003 invasion. Bremer, at the time, if you remember, gutted what was left of Iraqi national institutions and civil society after a U.S. shock and awe bombing campaign. Does that sound familiar? The resulting lawlessness made the Iraqi population prey to sectarian death squads, while U.S. firms sought to plunder Iraq's wealth, and did. All right? And there's a lot more here, like I said. Again, nowhere safe, and that's for the Palestinian people to go. All right? The U.S. has decided to only rebuild in the green zone, the section of Gaza under Israeli control. The red zone is to be left in ruins for the time being because they're not allowing heavy equipment to come in to bulldoze and to set it up, or the Palestinians to go in and rebuild it for themselves. A U.S. official told the paper of the Gaza plan, ideally, you would want to make it all whole, right? But that's aspirational. They're already admitting that they're never going to fix it. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be easy. Ask the residents of New Orleans that were displaced because of Katrina how their stuff's going. Because there's places that never came back 20 years later. Oh, and we're okay, good. We're holding. All right, living hell. The reality, however, is that Trump's peace plan is never going to be meaningfully realized, and it's not intended to be. Gaza was already one of the most densely populated places on Earth. How its starving population of 2 million or so to be crammed in half the space with no homes and all its hospitals and schools either bombed into rubble or out of reach? In truth, this is simply a way of just to justify prolonging a living hell for Gaza's population under the cover of a peace plan, while they desperately try to get another country to be willing to take these people in. But to do that would also be to admit and to concede that Israel is then going to be taking that land and that they're okay with that, which I don't think any country is doing. Israel had exhausted world sympathy to the point where Western leaders' complicity in the genocide had become too visible to conceal. I saw that France actually was like doing something pretty big recently. I'm going to cover that probably next time. Now, rather than having military officials on air spouting self-evident lies about only targeting Hamas fighters, we'll have U.S. officials explaining, with the help of far more savvy public relations teams, how they're struggling under insuperable odds to improve the situation of Palestinians. Anyone refused entry into the green zone will be presented as Hamas or an ally of Hamas. Families in the red zone killed with U.S.-supplied bombs will be terrorists by definition. The new barbarians at the gate. It's all propaganda. The Western media will finally be placated as its genocide-complicit correspondents are ushered into Gaza, but only into the green zone. There, they'll be guided around model safe communities where they can busy themselves airing footage of afflicted Palestinians fleeing Hamas and offered respite in new settler areas, this green zone. Meanwhile, the vast majority of Palestinians will struggle to survive the winter without shelter and significant aid, with no hospitals and no schools for their children, all while being indiscriminately bombed by Israel. This is the only peace, quote unquote, that Trump is offering. And again, fuck Israel, fuck Trump, fuck Tony Blair in the UK, and everyone who's going along with this. Shout out to Jonathan K. Cook. Support independent media and support the media you want to see. The people on that board have already done so. That's our wall of fame. The ways to do that are by Cash App, $, Indie News Network. There's no fees there. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. Then we got paypal.me/Indie News Network. We're live over at IndieNewsNow.com. That's the name of the show, but it's also a website where you can get news and watch all of INN's shows live. There's also links to merch and support with Stripe there and learn more about the shows on the network. And then there's the Substacks, INN Newsletter and IndieMediaToday.com, where we're live right now. I know they don't like when I talk about Israel, so we're done talking about Israel, all right? There are so many good independent articles and outlets out there. It disappoints me and makes me crazy that there are so many podcasters, live streamers, and outlets that choose to not amplify amazing work like we just did. You can create, format, and craft an entire show comprised entirely of independent media. We do it multiple times a week here. And I encourage everyone to encourage the show that they go on to amplify more independent media and to stop amplifying corporate media. Please, by all means. I didn't have to talk about any of those people, and I covered the news. Keep that in mind when you watch those shows that laugh at what these corporate idiots are doing. It's not funny, and it's not helping anyone. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. I'll see you soon, fam. I love you all. Have a great night.
Holy shnikes.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe?